I guess you can all see my screen, right? The screen, the presentation. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so we have 5 agenda today. We have the introduction, the Azure testing offering, other useful resources, references, and the Q&A session. During the introduction, we'll be looking at keywords in today's topic of discussion, and that will be a segue to discussing various options available on Azure for testing purposes. And apart from the testing offerings, there are tons of other services which can come in handy when carrying out your testing task. We'll touch point on some of them. The reference section is basically links to resources that can be helpful for anyone that wants to further explore some of the services we'll be talking about. And then we'll take the Q&A after that. If I'm not audible, please just let me know at any point in time. I would like to take the question at the end of the presentation, but just in case you want to ask anything, I think you can just drop the questions in the chat, and at the end, I can just look through everything, just so that you don't forget any question you want to ask. So I hope that is okay by everyone. All right. Okay, thank you. Thanks. For the introduction, we'll be covering 3 different things. We'll talk about what Azure is. We'll talk about the testing environments, and we'll talk briefly about the benefits of cloud-based testing. Yeah, so Azure is a cloud platform with diverse products and services for building, running, and managing applications across multiple clouds, on-premises, and at the edge. And I know many people may not really know, you may be running Azure in the cloud environment, but then if you have your own data center on-premises, Azure can also still be extended to your on-premise data center. That is enabled by using some Azure Stack solutions like Azure Stack Edge, Azure Stack HCI, and Azure Stack. The main essence of that is just need to ensure that the services are much closer to the users, to the clients, doing whatever they needed to do, especially to the remote areas. There are so many services available on Azure. Some of the services include computing, your VMs and the like, your storage, identity management, CDN, IoT, communication, data management, and messaging, to mention but few. So, but mainly today, what we'll be focusing on are some of the resources or products that are very, very useful for testing purposes. Testing environments, yeah. For testers, it's very, very important to have an environment where the testing will be carried out. Depending on the kind of testing you are trying to carry out, either web application testing, system testings, and the like, there are multiple options available. It's not just only cloud options like you probably would have known. It could be a local virtualization, it could be on-premise, it could be a device lab, it could be crowdsourced to some other external team to carry out the testing task. It could be cloud, like what we are discussing today, and it can also be hybrid. And when I say hybrid, hybrid is the combination of both cloud and any of the other options, be it on-premise or other alternative. Like there is a particular project that I was involved in, which is responsible for testing protocols that are released by Microsoft. There are regulations that require that Microsoft products are interoperable with any system. It should be open. It should not be closed source. And for that to be possible, we put in a lot of effort to ensuring that newly released protocols can easily interoperate with other systems. And that is done by testing the protocols in-house by ourselves. And most of the time, we make use of combination of both cloud and hybrid environments. Especially, we have VMs, local VMs, where we deploy our testing environment and use that also with the cloud environment. So it could be hybrid in any case. And each of these testing environments have their own merits and demerits, but our focus would be on cloud-based testing. Because for instance, if it's local cloud-based testing, you are not worried about whether, let's say, the internet access is having problem or things like that, especially if everything you are doing is on your local environment. But then it also has its own benefits and challenges. We'll be focusing more on that for cloud-based testing today. So there are a couple of benefits that I've highlighted here, about 6 of them, and these are the first 3. The first one is scalability. You have virtually unlimited resources for testing scenarios. There may be situations where you need, like, maybe, let's say, 5 different VMs being set up. If you are doing that in the cloud, it's very, very easy, compared to you buying desktops, like so many desktops, just because you want to carry out the testing process. You can easily scale up, scale down at will. So that's one of the benefits of cloud-based testing. Another option is cost saving. You can reduce cost of maintaining local infrastructure. Like I mentioned earlier, if you have to buy several systems just because you want to carry out testing, when you are done with the testing process, what will happen to those VMs? They are more or less rendered redundant until probably you have something very, very important that you can maybe run on those particular systems. Another thing is maintenance. The systems that you are using for your testing will definitely have some updates, patches, and probably you even need to back up some of your data. It's much more seamless when you are doing that in the cloud than when you're doing it on most of the other environments available. Stability is another benefit. You can access it anywhere as long as there's internet access where you are going. Unless there's no internet access, then you are sure to be able to access any of the resources and continue your testing task. Even while commuting, as long as you have internet access, you can always keep doing 1 or 2 things on the go. Compliance, test data usage flexibility, irrespective of collection source. There are so many rules in place that we have so many regulatory bodies that enforce where data is resident. Take for instance, data from the whoever is outside Europe. So if you are crowdsourcing, for instance, that means helping you to do the testing, whether they are required to be in Europe before they can make use of that. All those, are being if you are running your tests in the cloud. You can only set up VMs in any region without violating any regulatory bodies. One of such regulatory bodies is the GDPR, that is General Data Protection Regulation. So those are some of the benefits of running your tests in the cloud. So what are the offerings that are available in Azure? I've been talking about six of them. The Azure Dev Test, the Azure Load Testing, Azure Test Plans, Azure Pipelines, Azure App Service. Will be focusing the deployment slot. Then we have the Azure.
Michael, shouldn't the switch fine?
Yeah, I guess. Do I have what? Okay, thanks, Sayamde. Yeah, so Azure Playwright testing is currently in started there because I know Playwright is up trained. It's trained in the board at the moment. It's a very useful tool. Even though the Azure offering for it is in preview, I think it's something worth. So number one is the Azure Dev Test Lab. Azure Dev Test Lab is a service that enables testers to quickly spin up a dev or test environment using pre-configured bases or shareable templates and software tools called artifacts that are in the process. It's more or less similar to your local setup, but in the cloud. And that comes with the flexibility of automating the setup process. If you are provided maybe with a new system, yes, the system may have a particular OS version running on it. But let's say you have a particular testing criteria that says that the test should be carried out, let's say on a Windows 95, then that means you are required to set up a VM and deploy Windows 95 or so. I know Windows 95 might sound very absurd, but then we've had an event where one of our partners is requesting for a Windows 95 environment because they want to test how I think the SMB protocols work. The current SMB, that kind of environment. So if you needed to do that kind of things, then there are going to be definitely challenges if you are doing that on a local environment. The time spent in setting up the OS and installing some of the tools you use. And then to now make it worse, there may be a couple of testers in the team that need to have the same setup. One, can I say, phenomenon that usually happen most of the time. I don't know whether it's still that prevalent these days. That when you test something, you say, "I know." When you test something and you tell the developer that this thing is not working, the usual response is that it's working on my laptop. How come is it not working? Come and see my laptop. Come and see the way. But you come and say, you will tell the person, "Oh, but come and see the result. It's not really, that can be a bit challenging." Another tester also saying that I've also tried the same that the developer said is working on my own end. Then you'll be dumbfounded what was really with your own process. That could be because of various setup configuration that you have in your system. So that can be easily eliminated when you Azure Dev Test because everyone can have the same setup for whatever they are doing. Share, that's why I said the shareable templates. You can share like a template configuration of the environment details, and everyone will be on the same version, same software version, software type, and tools for whatever you are doing. So it makes things very easy. You can see from the image that I had here, choose a base. You can select, you have an array of Windows or OS generally, be it Linux, be it Windows. I don't think I came across anything like Mac OS there. But then you have so many of Linux available. You have tools like Visual Studio. In a nutshell, Azure Dev Lab can be used even by developers themselves, not just only testers. So it's something that's very, very useful across board, to share the same setup and then carry out whatever you need to do. In case you are trying to explore Azure Dev Test Lab, you see the logo is here to the right because there's so many places and so many products available. It needs to be challenging. The environment is user friendly, but then knowing what the icon look like sometimes can be helpful. So that's about Azure Dev Test Lab. Azure load testing, yeah, another fully managed service that provide facility for load testing, either with URL and requests or using scripts such as JMeter or locusts. And this can be used to optimize application performance, scalability, and capacity. Just like the image that you have here, this is the typical interface of what the Azure load testing page look like. You have the options to create, and when you're creating, you can either create using the URL-based test or upload the scripts. It has the advantage of simulating load across globe. So if you have users in different parts of the world, you can simulate them, connecting to your service and see what the experience is going to be like. And for less experienced testers, I think something that makes it very easy for you to easily do whatever you needed to do. As long as you your scripts, someone can craft the script for you. You just upload here, and then you can go ahead with the testing. Let me try and speed up a bit because of time. Yeah, Azure Test Plans, it provides a facility for you to do your manual-based testing, user acceptance testing, exploratory testing, and stakeholder feedback coupled with task creation. I've also worked in an environment where stars will test whatever you have done in the test environment or staging environment. If anything fail, then they will create a ticket, maybe on Jira or any of the other platform, in adding screenshots and details of why the test failed. Using Azure Testman simplified a lot of this process because, especially for manual testing, you can just easily come here and go through all the different requirements, walk through all the steps required for running the testing requirements. And if anything fails, automatically tickets are being created for every stakeholders that need to be involved in it. So it makes the work a lot easier for manual testing and exploratory testing. This is on Azure DevOps. It's part of Azure DevOps. So if you go to Azure portal, you can search for Azure DevOps, and then from there you can get a link to Azure DevOps. The icon for the test plan is also to the right there. Yeah. So the next is the Azure pipeline, also on Azure DevOps. Azure pipeline provides facility for automatically building, testing, and deploying your code projects. Testers, container testing can be set up to automatically test code changes using all major languages, project types, and source repos, such as GitHub, Bitbucket, and Azure repos. Yeah, so it's not only restricted to you having your project, it's not to have your project deployed, pushed to Azure repos, which is also part of Azure DevOps. You can see the link to your project is on GitHub. You can always link up to Azure DevOps and set up your pipeline to run tests for any of the projects, as long as the project is written in one of the major languages. I've provided link to resources so that you can get better information on some of these things during in the resource section. Yeah, Azure is deployment slot. This is mostly, I think, beneficial to the applications deployed under app service. I don't think you can easily leverage it if you have not deployed your application to app service. The way it works is that when you have the application running on app service, you can have what is called a deployment slot. It's one of the features. You can see to the menu. There's the under deployment, you have deployment slots. Deployment slots allow you to have multiple environment deployments, such that if you want to test in the production, you can easily just set up a different slots. When you are done with the slots, you deploy your application to slots, and then it's available on the available online. You can do all your testing on it, and if everything is okay, you can now then start directing traffic. You can say 30% of your traffic going to production to start going to the new slots, let's say staging slots. And if there's any problem, you can easily do all your there and do all the fixes. If everything is okay, what you just need to do is to now swap the previous production slots with the new staging, so-called staging slots. So what that means is that all traffic will now be sent to the new slot, which is tested in production. And the benefit of that is that if anything happens, let's say there's one problem discovered, we can easily swap it back with more or less little to no downtime for your users. Like what is going on with some of the, let's say, applications, say GT Bank, banking, changing their core banking platform, for instance. If it's possible to have deployed, that kind of application on, what's it called, the app service, is very, very easy to just switch back, fix the issues, and come back and the like. Just like even a situation where they were just changing their or upgrading their app, not even the core banking, when they were updating their mobile banking, and a lot of issues came up. Things like that, if it was deployed on app service, makes things a lot easier. So if it's possible for you to deploy your applications on app service, is something to really explore. You can easily test in production, which on a normal day will not be possible, and it makes things very seamless. Playwright testing. I'm sure many of us might have heard about Playwright. If you've not heard about Playwright, you know what Selenium is. It's just like Selenium, but even though Selenium has been in the market, I think, since 2004 thereabout, and have many languages, much more than Playwright. But then Playwright, the strength of Playwright is that it makes things very, very easy. It's very easy to work with. So if you're having challenge setting up Playwright on your local environment, you can leverage Azure platform. The Playwright testing is a fully managed service for end-to-end testing and is built on top of Playwright. The service abstracts the and infrastructure for running Playwright tests and managing results and artifacts. So you can easily just go there, create an instance or create a resource, a Playwright testing resource. And from there, a dashboard is being provided for you, which is free for like 30 days or so from the last time I checked. So within that time, you can easily just play around and see how it integrates with your testing environment and any challenges we have. I think with running Playwright on your local environment, I believe those ones will be that will not be faced if you're running on the Azure environment. Yeah, there are some other useful resources that can be relevant to the testing task, and that is the Azure Blob Storage, Azure Kubernetes, and Azure Blob Storage. Just a storage service for you to store any of your files, be it your test results, or any files that you need for your testing purpose. It could even be an image, an OS image, because sometimes you may want to work with an outdated OS version, which is not available on Azure. You can easily find the download link online, upload to Azure Blob Storage, and then continue to do whatever you want to do. They can also be used for, say, you want to test a scenario whether your application does upload and download properly. It can be very helpful. You can store all your files there. Azure Kubernetes service is mostly useful if you have your applications deployed to Kubernetes. Kubernetes is a managed service for containerized applications, application management, mostly for managing applications that are built with Docker. Most might have heard about Docker. Docker itself has what is called Docker Swarm for managing your services locally. But then, running that one bit technical. If you have access to Azure platform, you can easily use Azure Kubernetes to make things easier for you to run, especially managing of all those services. And this is also very useful if your applications are deployed to Kubernetes, and you can just have a test environment pod also deployed to the same setup, and that makes communication between the various pods easy. And last but not the least is the Azure Monitor. Azure Monitor, I've been talking about, have one way or the other to link up with Azure Monitor. Azure Monitor is mainly for logging purposes. You can log all your test results and check different things. How, if you are doing your load testing, you can always see the graph of how everything is working and challenges or any bottleneck somewhere. So that helps you to quickly go out where the issue is and then solve the problem. It's ideal for post-deployment testing purposes. So in summary, these are the things that I've been talking about. Spoken about Azure being a cloud platform that provides tons of services and products, which offer great benefits to testers. I've mentioned some of the benefits that cloud environment provides. And secondly, I've also spoken about services provided on Azure that enable seamless environment setup and efficient testing execution. And lastly, I've also talked about some other resources on Azure products that aid the testing process. And I think that is all. So I want to believe that this deck will probably be shared later on so we can have access to these references. The first one is about Azure Dev Test Lab, load testing, test plans, pipelines, Azure App Service, deployment slot, and pre-write testing. I think with this, you can easily just check to see how some of these resources can be helpful to you better to your testing process. Okay, so we are on to Q&A. Let me check the chat if there's any question. Any question? I can't see any question in the chat. I don't know how we want to take it.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Samson. This has been so insightful. Thank you very much. So please, if you have a question, you can use the raise your hand feature so that I can give you the stage. But you might need to. Okay, Promise, please go ahead.
Okay.
Promise.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Samson. That was insightful. Please, as a newbie in the testing field, now, and I want to start using, and I don't know much about Azure, where will you advise me to start with or start from?
Okay, yeah, so thank you, Promise, for your question. Yeah, so I've mentioned some of the resources I think that you can use for various testing purposes. Testing is very wide. So number one, I think is first and foremost important that you have an Azure account. It's very easy to set up, and I think there is free access to some of the services that are free. I think for like 1 year, I think you also have like I can't remember precisely, either $200 or something, or $150 for the process. So for you to explore different things you want to test. So it's good you have an Azure environment, Azure account, because for you to play with the environment, then you need to be able to log in and do one or two things. So then I think after that, it's very important that you pick a particular aspect of testing that you want to carry out, say load testing, for instance. Then you can go through the resource. I believe the deck will be shared with everyone. You can go through the link in the deck. It provides some step-by-step process of things that you need to know how to use the Azure load testing, for instance. So it's good that you are aware of the various products and services available for you on Azure, which is what we've done today. So just go there, pick one of the resources and try to apply it to your testing task that you want to achieve. I don't know if that answers your question. Majorly, I think if you have even further questions, let me try and get the link. I think learn.microsoft.com also has a lot of resources. I'll drop the link in the chat. It also has a lot of resources that you can leverage. You can go there, maybe check for other information. That's very helpful. And also, like it was mentioned earlier on, I think reaching out to people that are experienced, maybe with it, with questions, mentors and the like, I think can also be very helpful. If you have something else you want to achieve and you're having problem with it, it's good you have someone else that can always just reach out and say, I have this problem. Can you please point me to resources I need to use? Because learn.microsoft.com, for instance, has a whole lot of resources, which, sincerely, I myself do get lost at times. I spoke about Microsoft protocols the other time. All the protocol documentation is also available there. So there's so many things on learn.microsoft.com. So it's good, maybe sometimes just reach out to someone else to give you a guide on how to go about some of those things you want to achieve. I hope I've been able to answer your question. Promise.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much, sir. Mayor, please, you can go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Samson, for this opportunity. Just like the person who asked question, I'm also new to Azure, but my aspect of question is, as someone who is in the design field, because I'm a product designer, is there any way Azure can be used for some of our testing process? Or which of the Azure products can be used for it? Because I noticed that several of them goes with development or developer. That's my question.
Okay. Thank you, Samawa. That's a very good question. I know I've mostly been talking about testing and the like, but then, yeah, I can't really say precisely before designing, but if you want to test your design, there is a particular solution that Microsoft used to have. I can't remember the name again. I think I saw it some few days ago, but it's been deprecated. That's the reason why I did not include it in the list of tools that can be used. It is advised that you use. Let me drop the link to Browser Stack also in the charts. Browser Stack allows you to test across various platform browsers and the like. And another good thing about Browser Stack is that they are now in collaboration with Microsoft. I don't know how much stake Microsoft has in Browser Stack, but then since it provides a lot of information or resources that can be very useful for UI testing, for instance, Microsoft decided to deprecate the one that is provided by Microsoft, directly by Microsoft, and then they now partner with browsers. So if you're testing any design, it's very, very important that you use things like Browser Stack for whatever you want to test. That is, I think, the option that I can mention, especially for UI testing. I don't know if that answers your question. Okay, thanks. So I've dropped the link in the chat. You can explore it as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Samson. And thank you for the question. Someone is asking from the chat box. He said,
There's a question
"Good evening,
in the chat.
Samson."
Okay.
Yes. Would you like to read yours? I should just read this out.
Okay, let me just read it from here. Thanks. Sorry, I was muted.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm actually not versed with Azure, but please, I want to know the correlation and difference between Azure and AWS. Thank you, Moses. So yeah, there are, like I mentioned earlier on, the cloud environments. There are different services that provide cloud products and services. One of them is Microsoft. Microsoft's product is Azure. Others are Amazon, and Amazon Cloud Service is called AWS. We also have Google. Google's platform is called GCP. That's Google Cloud Platform. They are all cloud service providers. So it's now left for you to see which one offer you the kind of services that you want and also cost effective for whatever you are doing. For one thing I know about Azure, Azure has a very good user experience. And when it comes to cost management, I don't know now about AWS because there's something that is usually prevalent. I've heard so many people saying about AWS, not to water AWS down. Most of the time, you hear someone say that overnight I just discovered that I racked up like thousands of dollars in services because I've set up this service. I didn't know that this is what is going to cost me running that service. So, but one thing I know about Azure is that when you are creating any resource, you have the option of seeing how much it's going to cost you per month. And from there, you can have an idea whether you'll be able to sustain that service or you need to maybe tune down a particular configuration in the setup. For instance, I think I was setting up an app service and I discovered I was I assumed a particular database configuration for me, and because of that, it was charging me much. So I had to tune down what I wanted from that database instance because I don't really need much of the resources that is given to me. You pay per the resource that you are using. So there are different type of cloud provider in a nutshell. We have Azure, we have AWS, we have a GCP. I think the top two of them are Azure and AWS. You can have a lot of free services also from GCP. It's now left for you to see which one really provide a seamless environment for you to do whatever you want to do and also achieve your goal, and it's also cost effective. I think those are three major things to look at when deciding which of the environments to use. I'm much more used to Azure, and I can see the user-friendly is user-friendly environment, which means I can easily navigate and then achieve whatever you want to achieve, and also makes it easy for you to manage your cost very well. I don't know if that answers your question, Mr. Moses.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Samson, for that answer. Yeah,
Thanks.
do we have any other question? Do we have any other question? I've not seen our emojis. Please let's drop our favorite emoji for Mr. Samson. He has done a very beautiful job taking us through this lesson, maximizing the use of Azure for testers. I believe a lot of people are not aware that all these services are available for our use. So, and bringing it on has given us like an understanding that all these resources are for us to use and we can actually have access to them. And apart from him taking us through the session, he has also dropped a link to some of the resources that can be available for us. And I believe that we should appreciate him for that. Thank you very much, Mr. Samson. We really appreciate. So I just want to do a brief announcement for people that joined late. Earlier on this call, we had our CMD here, Ibironke Yekini, that she was able to give us she was bringing us on the program that we have on November 23rd. That's the Techie Smith Testers. It's coming up on 23rd of November, and a lot of people have started purchasing their tickets. However, for all the people that are on this call, she has decided to give like a discount for everybody that is on the call. So although the ticket is supposed to be 15,000 naira per person, but she has come up with like a discount for everybody, and she dropped the link on the chat box. You can check it. I also would drop it again. So if you're going to be buying your ticket in the next 2 hours, that's between now and 2 p.m., and use the discount name, that's testers, that's the code testers in capital letter, you'll be able to get your ticket for 10,000 naira instead of the 15,000 naira. But that will be closing in like less than 2 hours time. So I'm copying the link right now and I'll be dropping it in the chat box for people that were not here. Yeah, just drop the link now. And the code is testers in capital letters. Yeah. So I need feedback. Mr. Samson, are you still there on the call?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. So I need feedback from all the attendees. You attended this webinar. I just need feedback so that we'll know, was it helpful? The subject that we just discussed, was it helpful? And probably I was pointing to one or two people. So that was what I did last week also, just a way of getting feedback so that we'll not just be doing all these trainings and you're not getting something from it. So was that helpful? You can use the thumbs up to just let me know if you don't want to speak. Yeah, just let me know if it was helpful to you. Yes, Moses said it's helpful. Yes, so we have about more than 20 people on this call. I think I just have about 5 people saying it was helpful. So you giving us a thumbs up, we say that, okay, we should ride on and we should continue what we're doing. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, that's very good. So I will just be pointing to a few people, just one or two, and you'll be telling me what, at least one thing that you're able to pick from this section. Yes, what was that thing? So I'm picking Shegun. Anyoloye Shegun. Please, can you unmute and tell us what you learned from this meeting, from this webinar that Samson Alajede took us through? Anyoloye Shegun, are you there? Shegun, we can't hear you. If you are speaking, your mic is muted. I'm not sure he's very close to his phone. All right, Babalola, can you help us? Babalola, are you there? Babalola. I'm not sure, Babalola. Babalola could be there, but probably okay. But probably he doesn't want to talk. All right, thank you, Mr. Samson. He just dropped the document to the presentation that he just did. I think we should just appreciate him for that. Thank you very much. So you can actually look into the resources and you'd be able to see properly everything that has been taught already. So I think with this, we are coming to the end of our webinar for this week. Thank you, Mr. Samson. I really appreciate you. Uma Uka is saying thank you so much. We really appreciate Mr. Samson. Drop a love emoji for him, showing him appreciation for coming on board to teach us all the way from Microsoft. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Feromi. Thank you, Ma. Thank you, Oluwatosin. Thank you, Oluwatosin. Thank you, Kome. Thank you, Promise. Thank you, everyone. We really appreciate. Thank you, Feromi. Yeah, Mayor Creations is saying thank you, sir.
Ma, please, the testers code is for is it for the individual slots?
Yeah, it's
Hello,
for
ma.
the individual. It's for the individual. There you can also apply it on other ones. Can you have you attempted to apply it on the basis?
It's showing me 10,850.
Did you
It
apply
works
it?
with all. It works with all. As far as you are
Yes.
using it within Connect 2 p.m., it works with all. It's just
All
a
right.
discount code.
You can attempt. Guess what? That's what CMD said.
Okay. I didn't hear him clearly.
Yes, that was what